Welcome everyone to AAC's March webinar. We are going to talk about global message, and the presenter today will be one of our language trainers, Glennon Kiernan-Lahti. My name is Anna Tubau, and I will be opening and closing this webinar. If you have any comments or questions, please use the chat, and we will come back to your questions after the webinar by email latest. Of course, we can answer them here and now if we have time after the webinar. And without further ado, please welcome Glenn.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar. Before I talk about the importance of knowing your message, I have a little task for you. At the end of this webinar, I would like you to tell me what you thought my message was. You are my global audience in a sense, and I'd like to know how effective I was at getting my message through to you. The question I should ask myself is, did my audience understand my message? You can use the chat function with the link, and we'll take a look at the end of the webinar and see what kind of response I get. Perhaps I'll get 70 similar answers, perhaps I'll get 70 different answers. Let's see. And by the way, please feel free to use the chat function and link if you have a question that you would like to ask during the webinar, and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, so let's start. In order to shape your message and get it through to your global audience, there are three things we need to look at. Today, I will show you, number one, how to find your message. Where is your message? Then once you've found it, how to shape your message so that you can improve it. And once we've found and shaped your message, the third part we're going to look at today is how to get that message through to a global audience, communicating your message globally. Okay, so let's start with topic number one, finding your message. So where is your message? Well, the answer to that is easy. Your message is everywhere. It's on every page of your website. It's in every brochure you produce. It's heard in every meeting or negotiation that you take part in. It's in all of the marketing content. And most importantly these days, it's in every piece of social media content that your company posts. In all of those cases, you want to demonstrate to your audience that you understand their problem and that your company has the expertise to solve it. You want to show your expertise in an area. Your message here is always critical. And this can be whether you're trying to build a personal brand, whether you're producing marketing content, whether you are trying to generate interest via social media, for example, or whether you're simply developing your sales funnel. You must define your message every time you communicate. Okay, you may ask why. Well, the answer is that if your message is crafted well, it creates interest in your company or its product or service. If the message is not good, if it's poorly crafted, well, your audience may not simply understand your message. Maybe even more importantly, if the message is poorly crafted, your audience may not get the message that you wanted them to receive. Okay, so let's take a look at another issue here. Now, you may not think that you need professional services to help you deliver your message, or that perhaps it's too expensive right now at your company's stage of growth. But what if you had 15 minutes to pitch your idea to an investor, a venture capitalist? You'd want to be able to draw on everything you've learned about from a course in presentations, how to deliver an effective message. As a trainer of presentations in English, I've seen very many good ideas ruined by poor presentation technique. spelling errors on slides, poorly constructed slides, poor body language, monotonic intonation, or just a badly constructed message. Here on the screen, you can see communicating with cheese, and I'll explain what I mean by that. For Anglo-Saxons, like myself, we absorb messages, we understand messages when they're written in this MADE style, which stands for message, action, details, and evidence. Now, the Finnish communication style generally is evidence, details, action, message, or EDAM. Now, you need to know your audience so that your message is as effective as possible. And that means knowing their communication style, which is very important when we're talking about communicating globally. So let's take a closer look at a practical example of these two styles of communicating. Okay, here is an email. Well, two emails. It's basically the same email, and it's written in the MADE style, and it's written on the right-hand side with the EDAM style. It's from a company to a potential customer. They've had a meeting, and this is a follow-up where the potential customer has sent some data to this company. Now, if you scan through it very quickly, as we do in real life with emails, most of us are skimmers. We spend about 20 seconds trying to find the message in an email. Okay, so let's take a look at the one on the left. What is the message? Okay, there is some small talk because this is from a Brit and they're very polite. A little bit of small talk. Okay, but the message. We have reviewed the data. Okay, that's important. There's potential. We think we can make some savings. We think we can decrease your turnaround time, whatever the issue is. But that's the clear message at the beginning. Okay, now I'm interested. As an Anglo-Saxon, this is the way I like to communicate. I'm interested. What's next? What do I need to do? Okay, you want to present to me? Okay, so I know what I have to do. I have to get in touch with you if I want to arrange a meeting. Okay, now I get the details. It will take about 45 minutes. There's time for questions and answers. Then at the end, we have this evidence part. This is something that backs up your message. In this case, it's an Excel spreadsheet. It's a summary of the analysis that's mentioned in the message. And it supports my original message. Okay, and they'll be happy to tell me more if I wish to know more. Okay, I don't even have to get all the way down. At the beginning, I got the message. We reviewed, and there's potential. We can have a meeting. Here are the details. Here's the evidence. That's the way I like to communicate. Now, let's take a look at an email from a Finn to the same person in the United Kingdom. Okay, so I'm the recipient. I start with the email. What's the message? You've attached a spreadsheet. Well done, you. Okay, so next email, please. I move on to the next one. Okay, yeah, just joking. I decide to persevere and keep reading through this email. Okay, I've attached a spreadsheet. Okay, it would take about 45 minutes to present it. And the question I ask myself is, why? I can read the spreadsheet myself. Please let us know if you would like to arrange a time for them to present this spreadsheet. No, it's okay, thank you. I'll read it, and if I have any questions, I'll let you know. And all the way at the bottom of the email is the most important part of this whole email. The summary has important information for me as a potential customer. So, do you understand my problem? I have this problem with turnaround times. All the way at the bottom of the email is this idea that you can do something. You have the expertise, you understand my problem, you can do something for me. So, this is just a small example, but for the wrong audience, EDAM can make all of your marketing efforts, your communication efforts, can make them unappealing and difficult to digest for certain audiences. Basically, not everyone likes cheese. Okay. I also mentioned tone of voice earlier. Now, why is tone of voice important? Well, for many nationalities, such as Americans, flat speaking voice, well, it indicates lack of interest or boredom. Now, if you seem bored in the eyes of your audience, how likely is it that they will show interest in what you are presenting? If you don't practice your presentations, if you're not aware of your communication style, and most importantly, how it is perceived by others, then your audience's reaction might be, well, even this guy doesn't like this product or service, and he really doesn't seem to be enjoying giving this presentation. Unfortunately, the audience might make sure that you never get the opportunity to present it again. So tone of voice is one aspect of global communication that puts Finnish communication style at one end of the spectrum. Okay, let's move on. If you think about it for a moment, does everything you produce, everything that you write, everything that you say, or the content that your company produces, does it support your message? Does it say to your audience that we understand the problem and we have the expertise to solve it? Now, if you want to find your message, it's very simple. Go back and look at, for example, the last email that you sent to a foreign counterpart, a prospective customer, for example. Look at the last blog post from your company. They're active in social media. Basically, look at any piece of outbound marketing. Look at it with fresh eyes and ask yourself, what was the message? Okay, now we've found your message. The next thing we need to do is learn how to shape your message too. This is what I call the beef in our global sandwich. Shaping and crafting your message in order to create interest is fundamentally important for companies these days. And the question is, how do we do it? Well, the answer is CCC. That stands for clear, consistent, and credible. Okay, so clear means communicating simply. Even the largest Finnish firms, those with the greatest internal resources, use professional translation services because the risk of being misunderstood could carry huge financial consequences. Now, in some companies out there, perhaps you or a colleague, you handle the translations. But I don't doubt your language skills. How appropriate is it for the audience? Because the thing is, as an audience, we all read a message every time there's a text, email, company video, something like that. It just may not be the message that you want us to hear. My work as a trainer is not just about vocabulary and grammar. It's quite often about teaching students how to find their message, how to shape it. Once we found it, we start shaping it, then it becomes about the words and the grammar. Whether you're studying business English, having something translated into Russian, producing company video in French, the starting point should always be the same. What is the message? And is it simple and clear enough for the audience? Here's something you may already know. Translating word for word between any two languages is practically impossible. Structure, nuance, tone, all have to be considered. For example, try taking some of the Finnish text that you produce at work and put it into something like Google Translate and see how simple or clear the answer that you get in the translation software is. The job of a good translator and editor is as much about style as it is about the building blocks of the words themselves. And most importantly, in global communication, it's about consistency. And consistency is my second C. Okay, your message is clear. Now it has to be consistent. As your company expands and enters new territories, your message may need new languages. Same message, different language, different culture, and possibly even different medium as well. You have to somehow maintain that consistency. All of that terminology, all of those words and phrases that people spend so long choosing so that they will convey the spirit and the idea of a company. They all need to be translated now, for example, into Russian. So if there's been a translation company or language partner there at the beginning, it's a small step to have those translated with the same message into another language. Look at some of the biggest global successes, such as Coca-Cola or Nike. It's not so much about product, content these days, as it is about the message. It's a simple message that's communicated to everyone, no exceptions. Same message to everyone, everywhere. Now, achieving this consistency is very difficult. For example, companies in translation business, they use translation memory tools, for example, so that your message in whatever language, in whatever medium, will always be consistent. What was the idea behind the words that were chosen originally? And that can be carried through in helping to choose the message in another language. That consistency all helps to add credibility to your efforts. Now, credibility is my third C. Your message is clear, it's consistent. Now it needs to be credible. What do I mean by that? Well, credibility means accuracy, being correct, not making mistakes. It's everything from spelling errors on a presentation slide or on a website or a brochure, which happens all the time. It's poor word choice in the translated text. That's all the way through to poor cultural sensitivity, for example. Poor technique in any area of communication undermines your credibility. It's unfair, and it places style of substance. But for many foreign buyers, investors, potential partners, style matters. We looked at EDAM earlier, that cheese model. And we saw that in the Finnish communication model, in a sense, the content is king. Words serve to carry content, not style. Now, here's a part about cultural sensitivity. In the Finnish communication model, the product or service itself is king. It is the content. The first effort, second effort, all the way through to the last round of effort is spent perfecting the product or service. Quite often, Finnish companies neglect their marketing. There's no marketing content. They seem to sometimes simply expect that the awesomeness of their product or service will simply leap out of the email or of the presentation slide. It will replace the smile on my face as I speak. The audience isn't stupid. They'll get it. We don't have to shove this down their throats, for example. And then afterwards, when it's not successful, ask themselves, why didn't the audience understand what a great product we have? Well, that's because you didn't form the message in a way that they understand. You formed the message in a way that you understand. As I said earlier, it's very important to understand your own communication style, and equally as important to understand how it is perceived by others. This company was once a small startup. In the 1970s, this business was basically teaching written English. And over time, it has become as much about culture and communication as it has about fill in the blank exercises, though those are still quite important too. These days, we even help students to shape their message visually. Um, it could be a company demo, video, some other piece of content. Every color, every choice of text or label, the voiceover in a company video, even the body language in a company video, it all carries your company's message. Your message will be consumed on paper, face to face, and via smartphones and tablets these days. To be credible, you have to be able to shape your message across multiple cultures and across multiple platforms at the same time. And that is quite a challenge. Okay, so our first topic was finding your message. The second topic was how to shape that message, how to improve it, and how to shape it so that your message is now in a form that your audience can understand, not how you understand. This is the CCC, clear, consistent, and credible. So finally, we move on to topic number 3. How do you get this clear, consistent, and credible message through to your audience around the world? Well, the answer to that is quite easy. Your message is already there. It's in everything you've written. It's in everything you've produced. In some cases, everything you've said. Your message is already there in the emails, the content you've created. It's in YouTube videos if your company has them. It's in brochures, manuals, and instructions that are produced by your company for foreign markets. It's already there on people's smartphones and on their tablets. The question that you should be asking yourself is, what message are they getting? Be clear, be consistent, and then you can be incredible. Now, I'd like to ask you what you thought my message was. So I'll take a moment and see if I get any responses from LinkedIn. Someone is asking how to know when to use made or either. Is there any basic simple guideline to follow? Could there be, for example, message, action, evidence, details, or message, details, evidence, action? Excuse me, that's a very good question. A lot of this goes back to communication theory. In general, most cultures prefer to have the message first. English, as a lingua franca in international business communications, is a headline language. And it's very important that the message be there at the beginning so that people can skim through the email and see it. In some cases, of course, there may be no evidence. Of course, if it's a very simple email between two people, there may just be a few words. But the idea then of more complex emails, that we must have a clear message. We must have some details after the message, not to make the message too confusing. So yes, you can vary it, but I would in general always start with the message. The evidence is generally the last thing. The details and the action, of course, you can switch around. Someone has written here that my message was think carefully and plan well. Excellent, yes. It's the idea of the effort that's involved in this, that communicating globally requires much more effort than most people expect or in reality have the time to do. So the question becomes whether you do a rushed job or whether it's too risky to communicate poorly to the rest of the world. Now, I'm looking at the clock and I see that I have run over my time. So I will have to now pass over to Anna. And if you have any questions, you can contact the salespeople list here or AAC directly. And if you need to get in touch with me and know more about the MADE, for example, of communication styles, please feel free to get in touch via customer service. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Glenn. That was a great presentation on cheese. So thank you for your attention for our March webinar. And we will be sending you a really short feedback form. You can then comment or ask questions and also evaluate today's session. And the next webinar we have is in April, 24th of April at 11. And the topic will be around digital learning and customer experience management. I want to wish you all a very nice weekend. Let's hope it's going to be sunny. And hopefully we'll see you then in our April webinar. Bye-bye. Thank you.